Our little one just turned 16, and we got to spend the last couple of days up in Dallas, celebrating her for her sweet 16.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
It is.
And we had a dope realization this past week.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we always talk about how marriage is not hard, and we don't believe that, but how life is hard, and how a lot of the times people tend to blame life's difficulties on their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And on our trip, on our way back, we were inconvenienced, right? Because we had already set up, our flights and stuff, but the wind was going crazy and it ended up getting our flights canceled, right?
Right.
And so in that moment, we had to pivot and adjust, and ultimately ended up, driving back to San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
And we made that adjustment very quick. But what was interesting about that whole thing was at the end of, this great trip and stuff like that we had an opportunity to see our growth and how we've grown so much inside of our marriage and how we handle situations differently now, because we were faced with an opportunity where we were inconvenienced, and we knew that the older version of us probably would have responded differently. Mm. And so that gave us the opportunity to actually have this conversation now where we could talk about, like how a lot of the times it's the small things and situations in our lives that we end up experiencing. And a lot of times people can differentiate between attacking a problem together or attacking each other together. Mm. And we had an opportunity to see how, well, actually not just to see how we've grown, but an opportunity to where we had to show our growth and how we navigated that small situation that could have been something bigger. Mm-hmm. And so you actually had that realization when we was driving back home. Mm-hmm. And I figured that's what we'll shape this conversation around today.
Yeah, I always think it's so dope when we have those moments of being tested.
Yeah.
Because we always talk about personal growth and how much we're working on ourselves and things like that. But you don't really know that you've grown until you've been faced with an opportunity, until you've been faced with a situation to where you can prove that you have grown. Mm-hmm. Especially if it's similar to something you've done in the past. So you can kind of see okay, I would have done this, right, but now I do this.
Yeah.
So it's always dope to see those moments happen unplanned. Mm-hmm. So like you said, we were in Dallas. We were about to get ready to go to the airport and whatnot. Well, not even go to the airport. We were just getting up.
Checking on our stuff.
Yeah, we're checking on our stuff. I was checking my emails, and then I see flight canceled. I'm like, oh shit. So then I'm telling him, babe, it says the flight is canceled because of the winds. I'm like, okay, so the next best thing would be a road trip back home. Mm-hmm. And then you started going down everything. You were like, okay, well, if we waited for them to try to rebook our flight, we might have to stay here a little bit longer, extend our stay with the hotel, extend our rental, extend Nola's stay at Pet Suites. You started naming down everything we would have had to do if we would have waited.
Yeah.
And then we both looked at each other and was like, nah, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. And then we were like, okay, well, the road trip is the best option for us. So let's just go ahead and do it. And the fact that we were able to resolve that situation in literally 5 minutes was so crazy to me, because even you got on the phone with the rental car people and was like, hey, we're not turning it into you guys today. We need to extend it so we can turn it in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. You got on the phone so quick and just handled everything. And we were just like, okay, now, well, we're going on a road trip. And then the next thing you know, we're in the hotel just singing about going on a road trip. And it was no mood shift. It was no frustration. It was no frantic feelings and nothing like that. It's okay, we have this situation. These are the best options. Mm-hmm. If we do this and this ain't gonna work, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then we were able to really go from inconvenienced to now we having fun again with our family very quickly.
Right.
Yeah. And back in the day, it would have been it would have been chaos. We would have been all over the place. But one thing I am grateful for is the fact that even in moments in the past where it might have been overthinking and frantic, we still never turned on each other. Mm-hmm. It's just our moods would have kind of shifted because okay, well, now we freaking out trying to figure out what we need to do.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful.
Different.
Yeah. But I'm grateful for that never even being an issue. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was so that was so dope to see, like, in the moment. Like, even though it wasn't like a major thing, and I mean, the drive is only, just under 5 hours, even though we don't like driving that far.
Period.
But it was such a great opportunity to see, like you said before, our growth in action. Because even the way that we responded so quickly and we just adjusted and everything stayed in a good mood. We was all chill, having a good time. We was excited about it. We was like, oh, we haven't driven this long together in a while.
Yeah.
This would be cool. We get to stop at Buc-ee's,
Yep.
it'll just be fine. We'll be good. You know what I mean? And so I love the fact that we were able to make that shift and just do all of that stuff so smoothly without, like you said, getting frustrated, thinking about like, oh man, we got to spend all of this extra money. We got to do all of this stuff and just going down that rabbit hole of frustrations and all of those things when we can't control every situation that happens to us.
Right.
But what we can control is how we respond to it. And so instead of us, losing everything, mentally, emotionally or whatever, we're just like, all right, fine. That's whatever. We'll adjust and shoot, we'll be back earlier now.
Right.
We'll get up, get ourselves together, take our time, get us some breakfast, make it a whole little situation and shoot, we good. Like our family straight, our baby girl still happy, man, you still solid. And we got to have so many dope, eye-opening conversations on the drive. We got to have these realizations. We got to really have some quality time after all of those days, really to reconnect and just recap, our weekend. And they gave us, go figure, like 4.5 hours of uninterrupted quality time to really reflect on our growth, our changes, our future, like all of these different things that ended up working out in our favor. And I feel like the only reason we were able to even enjoy those moments the way that we did was because we handled the situation so positively and with such an open mind and doing it in a way that allowed us to be able to see the good in it rather than dwelling on what could have been perceived as a negative or inconvenient situation or whatever, when the inconvenient situation ended up being the convenient situation when we adjusted and we pivoted.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I'm so glad that we had that opportunity because, like you said many times before, it's one thing to say that you've grown or you've changed, but it's another thing to be tested and then have to actually show that in action and prove it.
Right.
And we've been doing that, man. We've been proving it.
Yeah, I love how in those moments it's so natural for us to just look at each other and like, okay, so what you think we should do? And we immediately start masterminding what we think we should do next. And like we basically like, it doesn't matter whose idea it is.
Yeah.
It just is like, okay, this is what needs to happen. Like we need to get home. So how we gonna do that? These are the options we have on how to get home. And then we just start knocking them out like, okay, well, that don't make sense. Slash out now. That one don't make sense. We just put as many ideas in the bucket as possible and just sort through whichever one makes sense. And it's not, I think what's dope about it is it's not a power struggle.
Yeah.
It's not, oh, well, I'm the man, I should be the one to say we do this. Or I'm like, well, I'm the woman and I know a bit about, you know what I'm saying? It's just us. Like, no, we're a team. Let's figure this thing out together,
Absolutely.
And it's so, again, it's so natural for us to immediately just look at each other like, okay, teammate, like, what we going to do?
Yeah. And then just figure it out and then just pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And not take, hours or whatever it is, to figure out the best approach.
Yeah.
Like we did that in a matter of minutes. And I love the fact that we've grown to that place because again, like sometimes we can be so in the doing that we don't even take the time to really reflect and see how much we've actually grown and we've actually changed because you can be so, in the weeds of just doing all of the stuff like, we like to read, we like to talk about, personal growth and do all of these things that challenge us and whatnot. And we're doing the work, we're taking in the information, we're doing our best to apply it, all of this stuff.
Right.
But when you're going through the regular, like day-to-day of your life, sometimes it can be harder to catch those small moments where you adjust or where you handle situations differently and things like that. And this is one of those opportunities where we got so far, we were outside of our comfort zone. We were away from our home. We didn't have our car. We didn't have, our puppy. We weren't in our familiar environment. We were outside of our environment, and we had to take some different actions, adjust and just do things on the fly as a team, like you said.
Right.
And so I love the fact that that was one of those smaller moments where we really got to see that, because something that we've, been talking about a lot lately is really not about those big moments, like those big defining moments, or moments where things can be like the most hectic or the most hostile or inconvenience or whatever the case may be. It's usually just a compounding of smaller things. You know what I mean? To where a little inconvenience over here happened and that throws you off and causes you to take that out on your spouse. Or something over here happened and then that shifted your mood and you brought that into your household and it ended up touching your family. Or, you know what I mean? Just all of these little small things that end up compounding over time. And then when you get hit with the bigger ones, it explodes. It turns into something way worse.
Right.
And it's not even just about the bigger inconvenience or, unfortunate moment. It's really all of those other smaller moments that compounded into that made all of that even bigger than what it was. And so the fact that we've had these opportunities now to be able to handle inconveniences when it comes to our business, when it comes to when we started, getting back really tight on our training, all of the things we had to adjust and kind of overcome, dealing with baby girl and, the things that she's growing through, and just working all of these things in our daily lives. When we got outside of our comfort zone and we got met with another one that could have been bigger, we had that opportunity now to where like, hey, now we respond different. Little things don't throw us up. It takes more than something like this to be able to shift our mood. It takes more than just, us looking at a situation and thinking about like, oh my God, all of this stuff is happening to us, rather than, nah, it's happening for us. How can we make the most of this moment? Because there's so many things going on outside of our control. How can we better control or better manage what we can control and our energy inside of what we can control? And like, man, just looking at all of that to me is a gift, because it gives us that opportunity now to see that we've not only been doing the work, but we've been applying it. And we've also been really like intentional about who we've become in that process. And we can see that in our actions.
Absolutely.
And I love the fact that we've had that opportunity recently.
That's so good. Why do you think it's so hard for people to, I guess, like work together as a team in their relationship?
I don't think it's any one I don't think it's any one thing that makes doing that difficult. I think it could be any number of things. It could be a person having had difficulty doing that in previous relationships. It could be a person not having the ability to control their ego or pride or whatever the case may be. Some people have superiority, complexes and things like that. Some people, may try to be more helpful, but don't know how to use their words the same way. And it can make situations that wouldn't be hostile come across in a way that they didn't mean it that way. Some people could be less emotionally mature, and situations that aren't that big can impact them heavily. So it could really be a number of things. And it's, to me, more important for a person to like reflect on themselves and look at their own life situations and see, how have I responded in moments in my life that I could have responded better to? Moments where you were inconvenienced, moments where you were challenged, moments where you've responded in a way to where you could have chosen your words better, or kept your energy better, or been kinder, whatever the case may be. Like looking back at your own history and seeing those moments where you could have done something differently, and now deciding to handle your inconvenient situations and your challenges going forward better.
Right.
Because they're still gonna come. Life's still gonna be life, and like we always say.
Absolutely.
And the only time that you're able to show the growth is the next time that you're inconvenienced or something is trying to pull you out of your character, those are the opportunities where you really get to see if you've actually done the work. You don't get to see that when everything is good.
Right.
So I think the reason that a lot of couples, you know, may struggle in that area is because, for one, they're not even aware that they do it. Because you can't fix a problem you're not aware of.
That's true.
So awareness is the first thing. And then also, after you become aware of it, being able to bring that up in a way to where you can both be receptive of it, to where now you can talk about it, start having that open communication, and then figuring out like, all right, when this happens again, how can we do something different than what we've been doing? And then figuring that out together. And then when you make that decision, apply it. See how that works. And if it doesn't work, find another way. Because life is going to keep life.
Right.
And just keep trying stuff.
Yeah.
And keep figuring out how to be able to make those adjustments in a way that best suits who you are, your growth, your relationship, and whatever needs to get done.
Yeah.
So personal reflection on that is the heaviest piece to me.
That's good. I agree with that.
Feeling with it.
That's so silly.
Yeah, that's my thoughts on it, because I know that it's easier said than done. You know?
I know I always try to, it's hard because we've been together so long, where I try to think about like what helped us get to this point, but it's like so many things helped us get to this point.
Yeah.
And I think a big thing is knowing that in those inconvenient moments, knowing that that person is going through that same thing too.
Right there with you.
They have that same stress as you do. Like they may not show it like you do, but they're still dealing with it just like you.
Yeah.
And being able to have that empathy and compassion for the person that you're with and saying, you know what, like maybe I need to like calm down a little bit, because they're probably just as stressed out as me.
Yeah.
So me blaming them or me attacking them or me like being in a mood or having an attitude, like it just makes the situation worse for them and for me.
Yeah.
So like, let's really just sit down and talk through this thing together.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
But like you say, I guess for some people it's harder to do.
Yeah. Again, and you got to notice it first.
Yeah.
And you got to notice it in a way to where it actually moves you to do something different. And what's interesting, even as you said that, you know, because the person's going through the situation with you and stuff like that, it made me think about how when I had called a rent-a-car place and I was asking the lady, you know, about, you know, us getting it transferred from us turning the car in Dallas to San Antonio. And, you know, and she ended up telling me the price and all that other stuff. And like, after she had said all that, I'm like, bro, it's going to cost that much. You know, I thought that in my mind, like, all I'm doing, bro, is just turning it in at another spot. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm thinking. And she tell me, you know, it's going to cost like almost another $300 or whatever. And we turning the car in the same day, like just in a different spot. It didn't really make sense to me. But what was funny was when she had told me that or whatever, I was like, all right, that's fine. That's how much it costs. That's cool. Whatever. Got off the phone. But after I hung up the phone, I was thinking, I was like, man, boy, that's growth. Because a part of me wanted to be like, why does it cost so much? Why is it so, like, that don't make sense to me? Like, are you sure? You know what I mean? Like, I could have had all of these follow-up questions for this lady on the phone who's just responding to my question and my request. She just doing her job. I know she ain't got nothing necessarily against me. I've never talked to this lady before. Like, she just doing her job. It's like, what good would it do for me to get upset when I still got my family here and we still got to get back home?
Still got to go.
No matter what, I'm going to get this car, you know, this rental extended so we can get back home and do what we got to do. Like, why even ask all of those extra questions? Like, just to satisfy my need to know when I'm still going to do the exact same. Like, my actions aren't going to change. I'm going to still do this thing because I got to take care of my family, get us home.
Right.
My actions aren't going to change. And so even if I like or don't like her answer, nothing's changing.
Right.
The same thing is still going to have to happen, period. You know what I mean? And I'm not about to go and drive this mug to another place, turn up. We're not going to do all that extra stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I love the fact that it was just like, all right, with the information you got, run with it. Do what you could do with that right now and just get whatever got to get done. And like, I love the fact that I didn't even have to like go down that rabbit hole of trying to figure all this stuff out to get nowhere and still have to do the same thing that I would have to do anyway.
Right.
And like, and it might seem like a little thing, man, but it's really so much bigger than that. It's understanding that not everything is going to always work out the way that you want it to. And you questioning everything doesn't necessarily make things better when there's a decision that has to be made. Like, you can either roll with whatever it is that you have in front of you and just tackle it the best way that you can, or shit, you can fucking complain about it and do all this other stuff or whatever and shift your energy when you're still going to have to make a call.
The problem is still there.
The problem is still going to be there.
Yeah.
And you getting frustrated about it or whatever the case, when you still going to have to do something, it's useless. So like, let's direct all of this energy towards the solution. And I love the fact that we've grown through that so much. And I will say, it's took us a whole lot of overcoming to get to this point.
Absolutely.
Like, and when I mean a whole lot of overcoming, I mean like we've been going through a lot the past, minus the last like year and a half. Like, it's been a whole lot better. I'm gonna say year. It's been a whole lot better. But prior to that, we've had so many
life was
challenging, life situations, that happen in a short amount of time.
Absolutely.
That it built up that muscle for us to learn how to be able to respond differently and bounce back quickly, to shift and pivot, make decisions fast, and not like get so emotionally wrapped up in what's going on.
Right.
And just like, hey, we just got to get this done. Like, that's fine. This what it is. I don't like it. It's whatever. We still got to get this done. You know what I mean? And just be able to move and recover faster, and just thinking about where we're going next, and making sure that we're talking, that we're communicating, that we're happy, that we're on the same page, prioritizing our partnership, us being connected, and making that bigger than whatever the problem is, knowing that can't break us as long as we got us.
Come on.
That just is what it is.
It is what it is.
We're going to be fine. We're going to tackle this regardless of how stupid or inconvenient or ridiculous or annoying that it may be.
Yes.
We're going to overcome it, and then something greater for us is going to be on the other side. It just is what it is. And I love the fact that we've really developed that muscle and have shown it consistently, over this past couple of years or so.
That's good.
Yeah, that was my rant for that.
I liked it. It was good. It was very on point.
But yeah, I think it's important, and it's also just, I think, necessary to say that, it's not something that we've done very well for a long time. And it's something that we've really gotten way better at recently. Like, not to say that it's always been bad, but it hasn't been at this level.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, like our moods would shift. We would be like irritated. Like, we never like turned on each other or treated each other like the enemy, but it would shift the vibe. There would be a little bit of tension because we would both be irritated about whatever the problem is. Luckily not with each other, but whatever the issue was, it would kind of like throw us off. But now it's just like, okay, like what next?
What's next?
Like,
handle it, move on.
Yeah, like what's next? So yeah. But I think, like you said, we've been through so much together to where it's really been, where life has really like threw us some haymakers, and we really jump up and be like, okay, seriously, what's next? We can take another punch.
Yeah.
We'll be all right. So like when moments like this, that's actually small, like it might be big for somebody else, but it's super small in comparison to what we've been through. Yeah. So it's easy for us to adjust in these moments, because like, bro, this is child's play.
Right.
Like, yeah, this is easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the thing for the audience and all of you guys listening is seeing that what we're talking about here is teamwork and true partnership. And remembering that in times of difficulty, adversity, challenges, inconveniences, whatever the case may be, nothing is more important than the partnership and making sure that you and your partner stay on the same team.
Yes.
Because for us, regardless of life's difficulties, we've always prioritized our connection and us being close and handling the situations together. And that makes the difficulty of the situation easier to carry, because you're not just carrying it yourself. You got somebody who's in it with you.
Right.
And realizing that you are a team. You're working against whatever this thing is together. And your whole goal is for the both of you to come out on the other side of that better than you were. or to overcome it together and still have that love, still have that passion for one another, to still, you know, just be able to look at each other and know that you're growing and that you're still on each other's side and all of that stuff. Like, I think that so many people have gotten into this space to where, like, they're in relationships and they're in marriages still as individuals, not realizing that there's power in the teamwork. You are, you're still your own person, you know, to an extent, for sure.
Yeah.
But you also have the power of a union to where you don't have to be able to face situations alone.
Right.
You can be able to look at any situation life throws at you and know that, you know what, I'm finna go into this thing with somebody who might be the opposite of me in some ways, who thinks differently than me in some ways, but who's on the same mission or has the same vision as me for our lives and where we're growing together, who's just as invested in me growing and me becoming better and my outcomes as I am, and I'm the same way about them. I got somebody who's going in this thing who has just as much skin in the game as me, who's rooting for me, and we're on each other's team together. And whatever situation life throws at us, it's not bigger than what we are and what we have together. And like, that is the thing. Like, life can be whatever it's going to be because we can't change that. But what we can do is focus on each other, building our strength together and tackling whatever life throws at us, and not having to lean on our own strength alone. We got each other.
Yes.
And that's the important part here. We have each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that's a good close, baby. That was really good.
My queen has spoken.
That's good.
The queen has spoken. So, yeah, man, that's the lesson that we got from, you know, our minor inconvenience concluding our baby girl's 16th birthday. And just, you know, finding those small moments to where we can reflect and just see how far we've actually come in our real life experiences and just how we're handling things and how we're navigating life. So, of course, you know, we hope you guys got some genuine value from that. And we've definitely had a good time being able to share, you know, that recap with you and hoping that you got, you know, some nuggets that you can actually take from this episode. Use it and apply it, you know, to the best of your abilities based on the uniqueness of your own relationship.
That part.
But, yeah, family, that's it. So until the next episode, my name is John Tron. This is my beautiful queen.
Adoria.
And we are one dope couple. And until next time, family, peace and love.